Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Audiobook summary and review by StoryShots. The person making the demand is not the villain. Your unreasonable yes is. Introduction. Most people think setting boundaries makes them selfish. Without boundaries, you become a psychological puppet controlled by guilt, anger, and other people's expectations. That is the thesis of Boundaries: When to Say Yes, How to Say No by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Real love requires boundaries. So does real freedom. You own your yes and your no. Every decision you make is yours. Not your mother's, not your boss's, not your friend who guilts you into saying yes. When you agree to something out of obligation rather than genuine willingness, you are lying. The lie sounds like "I don't mind" when you absolutely do mind. Resentment doesn't announce itself as resentment. It disguises itself as exhaustion, irritability, and passive-aggressive behavior that poisons every relationship you claim to protect by saying yes. Boundaries define what is me and what is not me. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate, not by what you complain about. Anger is your property line alarm. Anger is data. It tells you when someone has crossed into your psychological property without permission. When your sister expects you to drop everything for her crises but never shows up for yours, that anger is correct. The problem is you have been trained to feel guilty for feeling it. So you explain it away, rationalize the other person's behavior, and leave the boundary violation unaddressed. We change our behavior when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. Most people wait until they explode before they finally protect themselves. The problem is not the request. Your mother asks you to host Thanksgiving for the 5th year in a row even though you are drowning at work. That is her request. You say yes while silently resenting her for asking. That is your boundary failure, not her manipulation. She is allowed to ask. You are allowed to say no. The person making the demand is not the villain. They are doing what people do, testing to see how much you will give. The villain is the voice in your head that says, "If I say no, they won't love me anymore." That voice is older than this relationship. It was installed long before your mother, your boss, or your partner ever asked you for anything. Boundaries are not walls. They are gates and fences that allow the good in and keep the bad out. If this changed how you think about setting boundaries, someone in your life probably needs to hear it too. Final summary. This summary of boundaries threads together ownership of your decisions, anger as boundary intelligence, and the realization that your yes is the real problem. The full content unpacks the 6 types of boundary violators and how to handle each one without guilt. It reveals the myth of the good person and why nice people are often the most destructive to themselves. Cloud and Townsend walk through the 4-step boundary conversation framework that lets you say no without burning relationships down. If you have ever felt trapped by obligations you never wanted or exhausted by relationships that only take, this book rewrites the rules. We're putting together the full summary of Boundaries right now, with a visual infographic and animated video. Follow the book in the StoryShots app to get it the moment it's ready.